Hey guys, and welcome back to another Cyber Squad gaming video. Today we're going to talk about the latest PlayStation 5 showcase that just aired from September 16, 2020, and the games shown that interest us. If you like what we're doing here, then support our channel and give us a like, share, and subscribe for more content. Today, giving his thoughts with me, I have Mike. How are you doing, Mike? Having a good day?
Yep, I'm doing good. I'm excited to get into these couple of games that we really thought were the highlights of the showcase.
Cool, awesome. So I thought we'd start talking about Final Fantasy 16. So first of all, they came out of this out of nowhere. I did not expect Final Fantasy 16 to show up at all, or did I expect Final Fantasy to show up? But anyway, so from what we saw, it was uh, shown on PC emulating the PS5 experience, which was interesting. But this is probably fairly early development, so we can't expect it too much too soon. It's set in a medieval fantasy-styled environment. I really actually like that. I've seen a lot of games made by Japanese developers lately following that trend. That's kind of interesting to me. It's English voice acted with English lip syncing. Now that's another interesting point because normally it's not done that way, and it's dubbed over the original, and it can kind of feel jarring, kind of like when you watch different dubbed shows. So I really like that as well. The combat looked pretty visceral and fun, less reliant on team combat like Final Fantasy 15, and more about you controlling yourself, more like an individual experience. Now, from the trailer, we can only say so far that it looks pretty political in the world, dealing with royalty, large houses, families. I got a Game of Thrones vibe sometimes, but maybe that's what they're going for. We can also assume that the footage shown, although very dramatic, is taken from an earlier segment of the game, which presumably also sets up the larger plot for the game. I think it looks to return as well to an epic Final Fantasy with a dramatic and emotional story with like lots of melodrama possibly, which is something we haven't seen for a while because Final Fantasy 13 was a much more linear experience, and as we know in between, we've had different types of games. So we know it's a PS5 console exclusive, not available on other platforms for a limited time at least, and there's no current release date. But I really enjoyed it. So this was an unexpected announcement for me, but a great and explosive way to open their showcase. What is your take on our first look at this new entry to the series?
I wasn't expecting this. I really wasn't expecting Final Fantasy. We had Final Fantasy 15, which came out a couple years ago. Did a pretty good job, got pretty good reviews. I could tell it was Final Fantasy when I saw the chocobos riding on and slicing everybody.
Oh,
It,
absolutely. I was wondering until that point. Once I saw it, I was like, it's Final Fantasy. It's Final Fantasy.
Yeah, I'm ashamed. Part of me was like, you know what? Great on Sony for getting it as a platform exclusive, because after Final Fantasy went multi-platform, I was like, it's not going back. It's going to get sales. So it does make me wonder kind of how much, what they had to give up, what they paid for it. But they need exclusives. I think they do. I think with The Last of Us and Ghost of Tsushima coming out this year, they've used up potentially launch titles, and they need to go back and get some content, but we're not going to see it again until 2021. I, I I would think that we're not going to see this launching until maybe even after 2021. So we're going to have to see. So for me, it was a typical, this is coming in the future. Show me what's coming now. And as soon as I knew it was Final Fantasy, I was like, oh, this is a long time off. So we'll see. I'm more interested to see how the gameplay works, because the gameplay was a big change for Final Fantasy 15. So let's see how that all links up.
Yeah, for sure. And I agree with you there. The biggest difference is the gameplay and how they've evolved the series, and I'm really excited to see where they take it from there. Another unexpected announcement, but it's been rumored for a while here or there, the few leaks, is a Harry Potter game that was in the works. So this game is set in the late 1800s. The game looks to separate itself from any kind of current story to let the player experience something unique and new to the Harry Potter universe. It's an open world RPG, and it's implied that the player will be able to make their own choices and guide their character through the game. This includes possibly going down a dark path as well. And to be honest, I like Sith and stuff like that. In other games, I get to do this. I like doing that, so I'm happy that that's also a thing. But at the same time, I'm not a huge Harry Potter fan. But I could totally dig a wizarding adventure, right? Because at the end of the day, a fun game in a really expanded universe that is really well established is just fun. Such things like going through the school life, improving your wizardry through lessons, having a real like laid back experience, but then like ramping it up in the story could be a really interesting and fun experience. But I'm definitely going to keep my eye on this one as we go forward, for sure. So we know it's coming out in 2021, and there's nothing explicitly mentioned in the trailer so far and during the event about its console exclusivity. But it could always be because it's the first time we're hearing of it. So I think you're in the same boat as me, where you maybe aren't too interested in Harry Potter, but does what you see excite you?
So I did a little digging, and it looks like it's coming out to PC, Xbox, the works. It's a multi-platform game. As far as I'm concerned, this was the biggest game they showed at the series at the showcase, because Harry Potter to me is a mega industry, right? Harry Potter is a multi-billion-dollar franchise, 7 movies and everything else. We've never had we've had Lego Harry Potter and we've had some games, but we haven't had a serious Harry Potter game. So to me, it was like, if this is really an RPG Harry Potter, I may be able to play this and get into this. If it's more of a story that's kind of you're on rails kind of experience, probably not so much. But there's been a Harry Potter rumored game for years now, and I think this is it. And for me, everything they showed left more questions than answers. But as having said that, I think it hasn't left any bad taste in the mouth. So what I mean by that is the answers that there could be open world, make decisions, the fact you start in school and then you develop, and really could lead to a great experience. So I'm kind of on the fence. I'm like, keep eyes open for it. Let's see some gameplay and let's see how much control you have in the world.
Yeah, for sure. I think one extra point to lay on is with most things like this, movie adaptation games, we have the recent Avengers come out, have mixed reviews sometimes. There's always been issues adapting movies or comics or things like that to games. And, this is a first from what I've seen, but it's looking very promising. But oh no.
No, well, I think you're right. I think what was promising about it is that it piqued my interest, and someone that's not a big Harry Potter fan, that has been like, okay, you did what you needed to do. You made me go, show me gameplay, and I think that's why it worked. But let's move on to the next one. I think that's all I got to say on that one.
Okay. Yeah, let's continue on. So now let's talk about Call of Duty, right? Now it's a multi-platform game, so we're not too worried about what exactly we saw as regard to the PlayStation itself, but we got to have a first taste at some mission gameplay, which is also a great thing to see. But regardless of the console, this is more your type of game, and you've kept up to date with the information around it and the more recent Call of Duty titles compared to me. From what we've discussed in one of our previous videos, we both predicted this would be a more Hollywood experience, and from what we saw, I'd go so far as to say it looked like a Fast and Furious movie scene. Now, in terms of gameplay, it had some fast-paced and varied combat, including slow-motion bullet tracking, hostage-taking, booby traps when holding the hostage, like kicking him away and throwing a grenade, as well as visceral melee executions, like a knife to the face. However, I did find it funny once the game started and went from stealth to mayhem in a matter of seconds. It was a bit too contrasting for me, and it kind of tore me off. If you're going to do a stealth mission, sure, you can go loud, but it was a bit too much. So, anyway, after taking all that in, how do you feel about the new footage?
I've been worried about Call of Duty Cold War for a long time. I think I haven't been quiet about that in our previous videos, and this just to me was like, I don't want to play this. For me, Modern Warfare was the first Call of Duty I got super excited for and enjoyed in a long time. I've played it a lot. The multiplayer has been great, and I saw the multiplayer reveal with the life bars and the way it was playing. I'm like, I'm not sure. And then I looked at the sniper shot, terrible. The angle of the gun, terrible. The grabbing the body and then spraying up and having those hit markers and the weird reticules, terrible. Like, the whole thing was like, it looked like I was playing like an old gen game, like compared to like going dark missions in Modern Warfare, or taking out the house, or even the sniper missions. The fact you use the reticle, that minimize the HUD, and this just wasn't great. And then the action scene going down the buggy, then the buggy going through and remote control. It's like, come on, it's like, it's not Hollywood as in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 when you come out of the sub and all that other stuff. This was just pure fiction and wrapped up in adrenaline that doesn't look like it has the highs and lows you needed to make that work. And I tell you what, I was on the fence, and I'm like, I just want to get. I don't want it. I'm not interested anymore. Maybe the reviews will come out and tweak me the other way, but I'm just gonna play Warzone and go back and play the original, play the Modern Warfare review times. I was not excited about this whatsoever. I thought it was pretty poor.
Do you know what? That really surprises me. I thought when I watched it, regardless of opinion, I thought you'd be a bit more down for it. But you know what? From what you've said, I do agree. You do like the other Modern Warfare experiences, the more like serious ones, and this is definitely catering to a different audience. And we'll have to see how Blops versus Modern Warfare might stretch again into two different genres.
I
But
think
yeah,
I think to me it was just a case of like aiming down the sniper scope was like aim down. It didn't look very smooth, and then switched to the machine gun on the chest. But then you had when you were hitting bodies, you were getting hit noises rather than blood effects, and the reticule was flashing like an old style game. Why do you need to do that? Just aim down the sight and shoot. Use bullet tracers. Like, I hop in the car. It just didn't flow very well, and it just didn't look all that great. That's just my opinion. But let's move on to one that you're excited about. Let's move on to Demon Souls. You'll probably have plenty to say about that one. So,
well, before we get to Demon Souls, we still have Spider-Man to talk about. Remember?
oh yeah, Spider-Man came up too. So let's talk
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
So probably one of the most anticipated games coming this holiday is Spider-Man Miles Morales, where we take on a new Spidey adventure with another well-loved character from the series. The setup to the story looks darker than the original and looks to have immediate conflicting personal ties with his own family caught up in the politics currently going on at the time. Aesthetically, I really like what we saw. They showed some great visuals and some cinematic-looking combat that we have come to expect from the previous game. Something that really stood out for me, though, is how seamless the game can go between these short snippets of cinematics in the combat and environment and the moment-to-moment control gameplay. Normally, quick-time events, other than like that, break it up. They found a good position, I think. From what we can see as well, I believe this is going to be a sort of coming-of-age story for Miles, like becoming the Spider-Man, and I look forward to taking it for a swing, and that's no pun intended. Now, I know you've not played the first game, Mike, but it was a very popular and successful comic book game adaptation, which can be few and far between. Would you play this type of game if given the chance?
You know what? I didn't, and it's not really my type of game. Kind of like I wasn't a big fan of, say, Infamous Second Son, but I've always respected it as being. It's always looked good when I've looked at it. It's always looked seamless. The interaction looks great, and the whole time I was playing this, watching this, I was like, this looks fantastic. This really looks great. It's seamless. It looks like there's skill involved, makes it quick times, make you feel like the action hero. The story looks well acted. I could definitely see that the announcement that this is going to be on the PS4 as well. You could see that when he was walking through the crowd at the beginning, you didn't get the ray tracing or the reflections and things like that, which may be a holdback from not being built from the ground up for the PS5, even though they say it was. But I personally think that this is going to be another great game. I expect great reviews. The first one was fantastic. It's critically acclaimed. I think if you're going to come out swing in with the PS5, this is a great game to have there at launch. I was surprised that PlayStation backtracked and put it on PS4 as well, because given that this is the paramount game to sell your console, the demand to go get a PS5 may have just gone down a little bit, given that it's a PS4. Kind of like with the Xbox. Why go get a new Xbox if Halo is on the original console, right? I think what they're trying to do is put the game and the software, which is what makes the money, in as many hands as possible. But I have nothing but praise for what I saw. It looks fantastic.
Yeah, and I think what you just said there was a great point. I didn't expect the PlayStation 4 release either. When I saw it and the build up to this time, I saw it as like the bundled packages. The PS4 Spider-Man package sold tons, and I was expecting this to be an exclusive to PlayStation 5. It's going to be a console seller, and I'm sure it still will. But breaching the gap between two, they've got some plan in there, I'm sure. But we've yet to see what kind of bundles they come out with for release. Currently, it's just the console itself, so we'll have to see what they do. Now, wrapping up the showcase, as you already talked about a second ago, Demon Souls. Yes, I'm excited. It's the much-anticipated remake of the game that started the Soulsborne genre. Granted, Dark Souls is the title that brought the genre to many players' attentions, but Demon Souls was this true original that evolved into the series that many players see as a definitive genre in gaming today. What we are shown here is a beautiful recreation of an early part of the game with the well-known attack and block systems of Souls games. Noted, though, is a teleport that immediately taking advantage, I'm sure, of the PlayStation 5 SSD technology. In comparison, the original Demon Souls game took about 10 seconds to load the section with a loading screen. Once the player gets through through this area and to the boss, we get the stapled "You die" message, followed by a montage of areas, enemies, and bosses. Clearly, they don't want to show us how to beat this boss if you've never played the game before, and that's typical, right? Keep it hardcore. Now, this game is definitely one of my most anticipated PlayStation 5 games. As you know, I've played the entire From Software Soulsborne library, except from Demon Souls, but that's exactly why I'm so stoked for this remake. I absolutely love these games. However, I'm thinking this may be the last traditional Souls-like game we actually get from Software, as following Sekiro, Elden Ring may lean away from what we know, but that's another conversation for another day. Anyway, we know this is a PlayStation 5 exclusive and not coming to other platforms, and there's no release date yet. But this genre is something you have not actually tried yet, Mike, as it may not be for everyone anyway. But is what you've seen from Demon Souls interest you at all to even trying out a Soulsborne game?
So I recently added Dark Souls 3 to my wish list to get, because you keep talking about them, and I'm like, you know what? I call myself a gamer. I need to play something of this series and go back to the old school gaming style, let's say, of when you die, right? Kind of like even when you played Sega and you played Dizzy or Mario, you die. I looked at it and I got caught with two opinions. The first opinion is graphically, it is beautiful. It is absolutely stunning, and it looks buttery smooth. It looks visceral and it looks fantastic. And then
Yeah,
I
it's
got
60 FPS, 4K.
no, it looks fantastic. The downside was it did look like Dark Souls from the gameplay I've seen of Dark Souls, watching streams, watching you play, and things like that. The Dark Souls has evolved over time, and this is going back to a very traditional what it was before, and they're staying true to that. Now, from your perspective, nostalgia and all that, some people are going to like that. Other people, Dark Souls was the best-selling version, and some people might find that it's overly punishing. So it's going to be interesting how they handle the old gameplay with the more evolved gameplay of later games. But put it this way, this is a game I'm going to want to check out eventually. Whether it's a system seller, I'm not sure. But having said that, I think it's going to be a slow burner where you're going to see it sell content after content after content after content, year after year, because it has such a following. So, yeah, I'm excited to try it out, but I think that's more because I'm also excited to just try the genre out. But out of all the games we saw, I thought this was the most graphically impressive and clean, which is very Souls-like, or From Software's kind of style.
Yeah, I'm actually glad to hear you've added Dark Souls 3 to your plaything, but once again, that's another
I
conversation.
gotta
We can go
finish
over
Death
that.
Stranded first.
Yeah, you do. You actually have to. But you'll get around to it. Yeah, so yes, it's an older genre of gameplay, and that's why I say I think this might be the last time we get that traditional thing. And we do have the following that's there, and we have the fan base that loves it, and we have those who speed run it with like no hit runs and everything, and the same community will follow over. But I'm sure it's gonna be a great game, and followed through properly. But anyway, finally, an announcement that I'm not sure if was talked about prior to this conference or if it was held silent, but I didn't hear about it until this part, was this PlayStation Plus collection. So seemingly this is a target of Microsoft's Game Pass. So we already have PlayStation Now. That's a separate subscription service that allows you to play like up to 100 or so games on PlayStation. Stream them to your console, stream them to a device, download them to a device. And that was at first I thought, the thing to do, Game Pass. But now they've come out with this, which is anybody with a current subscription of PlayStation Plus, which is their standard equivalent to Xbox Live, gets access to a large library of classic games, and not currently confirmed anything forward-facing like the Xbox Game Pass has. Like on release, you get this, but it's clearly taking a dig at that type of marketing, that type of service, and I don't really have an opinion on it. All I can say is there's those people who have not played the games they want to offer, who will take full advantage of that. Newcomers to the system, newcomers to PlayStation, newcomers to all their classics, and there's those who have already played them all that this is completely irrelevant for.
So my take on it is free games for gamers is good. right? That's the plain and simple. It reminded me a lot of like, it'll be interesting if games are left off it and then they remaster them. Like, and if that is the case and they remaster them, what they charge for those remasters, right? What's gonna be interesting is what games come to this. So, for example, does God of War 1 come to this, or does God of War, when God of War 2 is getting close to release, that's pretty good deal. That's interesting. But to me, what this is saying we have a back catalog that isn't, that we're going to sell as PlayStation $20 games, and we're going to give them for free instead. I think PlayStation does not have a very good launch lineup and a lot of games coming at launch, and this is a way of saying, well, pay us $60 for PS Plus, buy the collection, buy the PS5, and you get to play PS4 games that you want. These are the games that Xbox players haven't played. These are the games that Xbox players haven't seen. So go ahead and buy a PlayStation 5 and you get to play all our old PS4 games. Okay, get it. I think that's the play. For me, where does this go? Why, are you going to give us first party titles? Are they going to be, once a game's 2 years old, it comes to this platform? Like, Sony through this whole conference has been very sort of, we're not telling you anything. So we're going to have to see what comes. A lot of people I've talked to, a lot of friends of mine have said, well, if you're a PlayStation fan, you've already played all these games, most of them, because they were the big games that came out. So if that's the case, who are they aimed at? And one of my buddies said, well, if I buy a PS5, I've not played any of them because I'm on Xbox. And I was like, okay, well, maybe that's your market. But I think more information has to come out. We have to see what the total game lineup is and whether or not this is just a way of filling a very, very empty launch window in terms of games that are coming out. So, but yeah, let's see where it goes.
Okay, well, that's an interesting take on it. I didn't think about it that way, like a weak lineup and whatnot, because at the end of the day, whether you have a good or bad lineup, there's always the AAA that you might be missing, regardless. But when you mentioned God of War 1, like, would God of War 1 come to it? I know already that the PlayStation Now service offers, like, God of War 1 on stream, like streaming, similar to the xCloud. So I'm definitely seeing it as more of, like you mentioned, a set list of high-profile games that you get for free, and like you said, free games for gamers is great, and that's going to be a way for you to enjoy these games on the PlayStation 5. So you may have 4 or 5 launch titles, you might only be interested in 2, but if you're coming to the PlayStation from the Xbox or as your first console, you definitely have a backlog of 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 games that are proven history and legacy, that are great games. But yes, I think we both agree here that we're still wondering who it's truly for. Is it just a last-minute ploy to take a dig at some sort of Game Pass stuff, or if it's meant to be its own thing going forward?
It's not a Game Pass, because Game Pass, they have a PlayStation subscription thing like Game Pass. This isn't aimed at Game Pass.
The PlayStation Now is like the Game Pass equivalent, yes. But whether we see the PlayStation Plus collection end up being something where, a indie game is released and you get it for free on release. Not maybe a AAA games like Game Pass has done, but you might get something similar. This is brand new. This is absolutely brand new, and we'll just have to see where it goes. But currently, it's just a collection of high-profile games from the previous generation.
I think we got to see what more comes out, and then once we know what more comes out, I think we can approach this in another video. I think we have to wait a few more weeks and see how all this shakes out.
Yep, absolutely. We got a lot to come. But anyway, so final thoughts. Been a great video. Great talk, Michael. Great stuff having a chat about this stuff. Always a pleasure. But the final stuff that we want to say, though, is that we've got the date. We got 12th November in select regions, mostly Canada, US, Japan, and a few other places. We got the 19th of November for the rest of the world, including me, which kind of sucks because I do want to buy this on day one. And it's going to be retailing on the digital edition for $399 US and $499 for the standard edition US dollars. So, interesting price point. I don't know if you want to touch on this, Michael.
I think we could do a whole conversation on price point, and I think closer to actual release, we probably are going to talk about it when we start seeing the bundles and things. But nothing that I wasn't expecting. $499, they had to. They got a less powerful machine. They can't go more expensive than Xbox Series X. debate SSDs, whatever, but in general, teraflops, processor power, CPU, GPU cores, everything, RAM, the whole shebang. They're slower. They gotta see what happens. The $399 is an interesting price point, just because it's only $100 more than a far less powerful Series S. So what you've got is you've got an Xbox Series S at $299 which is great for a lot of people. Then you've got the $399 and you go $100 more, but it doesn't have Game Pass, it doesn't have all this other thing, and the Series S is probably geared at more children, more families and stuff like that. And then you've got a straight shootout for the Xbox Series X. At least this fall, anyone that wants a Series X or a PlayStation 5, they're not going to go against each other. They're just gonna go for it, and they're going to know what they want to get. But let's just wait and see what happens. But I think we could do price as a separate discussion when more shakes out.
Yeah, I agree. And once again, there's his own kind of drama around the situation, so we can leave it at that. Anyway, it's been great having this video. Thanks for everyone who tuned in and had to listen. We enjoy making this content. Hope you come back for more. And I hope you have a good day, and peace out. Have a good one.